Reagan, and today I'm here to do my February TBR, and this video is sponsored in part by Disney Hyperion and HMH. Now, I have accumulated quite the stack of books to read for the month of February. February is a shorter month and the month of love, so I thought it was only fitting that I would basically pick really long fantasy books to read. I didn't see that coming. Anyway, without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right in. The first book I'm going to talk about is the book I am currently reading, and that is Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman. I started this book at the end of January, and I am really loving it so far. This is a dark urban fantasy setting of a novel, and it basically follows a man who's kind of fallen through the cracks of this underground London where people like disappear and it's dark and it's eerie. So far, I'm really enjoying it. It's exciting for me to finally be reading some more Neil Gaiman, as I've been meaning to do that for quite some time. And yeah, I can't wait to finish it this month. The next book on my list is the Proustopia Book Club Pick of the Month, and this month we are reading Ever the Brave by Erin Simril. Last year, Sasha and I read the first book to this series called Ever the Hunted, and we both really enjoyed it, so we're so excited to be reading the second book with you guys this year. I absolutely loved the first book. We followed one of our main characters, Britta, who's basically like a archery huntress, goddess, warrior. She's not actually a goddess, she's just really good with the bow and arrow and hunting and tracking and all of those things. Basically, we follow her through this crazy adventure for the first novel, and we feel like everything is okay, but some things start occurring, hence the second book. Basically, Britta and Cohen just want to be together, just want to live their lives peacefully and normal, but as a dark and ominous power seems to be creeping through this very magical world, they see it upon themselves to essentially deal with it, as well as this power seemingly seems to be tearing Britta and Cohen apart. I absolutely loved the first novel, Ever the Hunted, because I felt like it drew great inspiration on this classic fairy tale adventure storytelling. I mean, the world just felt like you were kind of in a Disney movie, but it was much darker, but like this magical forest and the king that you don't know. It has all of these really fun elements, and I honestly cannot wait to read the second novel. The next book I really want to get to this month is one of my most anticipated books of the year, and I mentioned it in my most anticipated books of the year video. That is The Bells by Danielle Clayton. Oh my gosh, this book just sounds so cool. This book actually comes out February 6th, and this is a New Orleans fantasy inspired novel, and this follows our main character Camilla, and she is a belle. And bells, they're not only revered, but they also have a lot of control, because bells are basically in charge of beauty and opulence, but also they're able to save the damned. Everyone in this New Orleans inspired world is born gray, and bells basically are able to save them. Camilla does not just want to be any ordinary belle. She wants to become a part of the Queen of New Orleans court. So she kind of goes out of her way to go to this court, but from there she kind of discovers a lot of dark and mysterious secrets, and she gets all wrapped up in all of that. I, again, have talked about this book quite a bit, but I'm just so excited for it because I've never read a New Orleans inspired fantasy world, which is crazy because New Orleans has so much amazing and rich history that I feel like is gonna have such wonderful atmosphere in this story, and I cannot wait to dive in. Like, I really think this book is gonna be awesome. The next book I really want to get to this month is Thick as Thieves by Megan Wallen Turner. This is the fifth Queen's Thief novel and will be the fifth book by Megan Wallen Turner I have read. This is the most recent release to this series, and I absolutely loved the first four books, which I read last year, and I'm kind of going into this book a little bit bittersweet because I'll have to wait for another one to come out, which I don't know when that's gonna be. Which, if you're not aware, this setting is very much inspired by ancient Greece. We have gods, we have different like political factions in a very small geographic area, similar to ancient Greece. And this particular story, we actually follow a new main character perspective, and she is a thief, which kind of feels a little full circle to the first one, which also we follow the main perspective of a thief, and it grows to, you know, a lot more large political dealings from there. But yeah, I honestly cannot be more excited. Megan Wallen Turner literally has never disappointed me. These books are so rich and wonderful, and I feel like this is just gonna be so good. So I'm gonna read it. The next book that's on my list is Jane Unlimited by Kristen Cashore, one of the shiniest books I own. I honestly don't know too much about this, but I think that's kind of the point. From my understanding, it follows our main character Jane, who's always lived a very ordinary life, and she's promised her mother to live an extraordinary life. One day she gets invited to this bizarre party at this island. She goes, and then like a whole bunch of wild things begin to happen. But I also know it is also wild in the narrative as well, because I think Kristen Cashore like writes the story either over and over again with different genres, or those different genres exist based on the choice Jane makes in the story. But I feel like this is supposed to have like science fiction, fantasy, horror, just like a lot of different genres mixed in one book, which sounds so unique. I've never really come across anything like that before, so I want to read this. I think it sounds very cool. And the last book I want to read this month and checks another book off of the top 10 books I want to read this year, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I mentioned how I want to continue on with this series in 2018, but I really do feel like it's been too long for me to just jump into the third novel. I'm going to start over and start with rereading The Raven Boys, the very first book, and then hopefully read the next 3 throughout 2018. But this is a much beloved YA fantasy story following one of our main characters, Blue, who comes from a family full of psychics, and she basically in the first novel, beginning part of the first novel, witnesses the death, or is basically foretold the death of one of the boys that she meets later. We also follow the Raven Boys, which is a quartet of very strange boys in this town who basically pass their time trying to find magical way lines. So again, I've read this book. I really enjoyed it when I read it. It's very loved. I really want to continue and complete the rest of the series, so I gotta start with number 1. Alrighty guys, that is my February TBR. Let me know down below some books you really hope to get to this month, as I would love to know, and I'll see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!